And at one point, I was almost losing the belief I could do it because the process was very intense and stressful. I was running again. I passed someone drinking a fritz cola, and I got fritz cola. And then some fun. It was a group of people, right? So I thought, okay, there's still people loving my soft drink, loving my product. I can do it. There's still consumers out there, and no matter what I think in my little head, but the people still love my product. I regained faith and belief in myself and in my company.
Welcome and welcome back. Hi, Mario.
Hi, Florian. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Mario, I got a question for you. Are you more a fan of David or Goliath?
I think if you fight as a small player, the big player, like I have done with the ketchup and like our guest today did with even a bigger hero, I'm obviously cheering up the small guys to fight the big one. But I learned a lot from our guest today. I read his book and we talked during the journey. So I think there's a lot to learn today. I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Our guest today is Mirco Wiegert, CEO and co-founder of Fritz Cola. Mirco founded the company with his friend Lorenz Hampel when they were students in Hamburg in Germany in 2003, so 21 years ago. Therefore, they terminated their Bausparvertrag. It's a very German word. I do not even know what the English
we put it in the notes
translation is.
In English.
It's a kind of a building loan contract or something like that. They had then 7,000 euro in cash and they started to conquer one of the biggest brands in the world, Coca-Cola. Today, Fritz Cola is a hip and well-known brand in many European countries. They employ more than 320 people. They call them Fritzen. And they position themselves not only as a beverage producer, but also use their market power to make strong statements against racism and right populism. We are happy to welcome Mirco on the show and explore together with him his personal story from Doubt to Drive. So welcome, Mirco. We are happy to have you here.
Welcome. Thank you for the invitation.
Mirco, as this is a podcast about doubts and roadblocks, how did you come up with the idea to make a cola? Because I would say making a cola against one of the biggest brands in the world like Coca-Cola or PepsiCo is already a huge roadblock, and you and your friend, you were just students. Did you ever had doubts that this might go wrong?
No, never.
Never?
Never. Because when we think back in the 90s here in northern Germany, Hamburg, we only had one cola brand. So it was kind of soda socialism. So when you went to a bar or cafe or a club or any place here in Hamburg, and you ordered a cola, you got a lukewarm brown or black soft drink without bubbles, poured out of a big plastic bottle into it, and glass. So we thought, okay, this is an easy task. We only have to be better than this cool stuff. So we decided, okay, let's start a cola business.
Okay. But I need to steal Mario's question now because he always asks about the Schwellenangst, the fear of crossing borders and thresholds. And you were just young man in their 20s and you started your company, Fritz Cola. Can you describe this step from getting into a company, founding a company, becoming an entrepreneur? How was that, apart from the big giant Coca-Cola on the other side, but your personal Schwellenangst to become independent?
We were not afraid about this Schwellenangst because the initial idea was to start a company, any company, to become entrepreneurs. So we want to become entrepreneurs and to learn how to think like an entrepreneur, how to act like an entrepreneur. So to start a soft drink company or a cola company was just kind of training program, and we couldn't think about this would be successful or not, but it was sure that we're gonna learn a lot. So we gathered our first 7,000 euros and then just get started. And obviously, the other cola brand is so huge, so big that we were pretty sure there's enough space for number two.
Mirco, when we ask entrepreneurs this question about the Schwellenangst, we get a lot of time this answer from you, like you also said, like when you were young, when they have nothing to lose, this Schwellenangst is pretty low and people just start moving. But we hear from a lot of seasoned entrepreneur. We had that last time from Rainer Becker, the founder of Summa, who says, now I certainly have Schwellenangst because I bring my baby Summa into Germany and now I start like doubting myself. And yesterday we had Chris Hoffman who said, I never had the Schwellenangst when I did 25 hours because there was nothing to lose. But now, being 60, I have Schwellenangst. Can I do it again? Can I build another brand again? So as a more grown-up version, Mirco, did you face during your career, during scaling up Fritz Cola, maybe another time this fear of threshold was when there's more to lose? Because back then you could only use your Bausparvertrag, but now you have much more to lose. Is that a feeling which started coming later on, maybe?
Yeah, I had some angst or some doubts when COVID-19 started, and we had almost zero sales for 2 or 3 weeks because when it all started and we had all to gear down our companies, our businesses everywhere in Europe and in the world. So the trucks were delivering only water to supermarkets, but no soft drinks or beer. So no wholesaler were picking up our cola and our warehouse to carry them to the bars, cafes, and supermarkets. So there were no sales, and we had to send our employees or Fritzis home. And we were only 7 people working in the office and start to manage the rest of our company. There I had some, not fear, but doubts how we can get over this crisis.
Was that the first big crisis in scaling up, Mirco, or was there anything before COVID? Because COVID we're going to touch definitely here, but was there anything, or was that, you would say, the first crisis of yourself as a leader and of Fritz during the career?
Oh, we had hundreds of crises. This is something normal, I think. I mean, as entrepreneur, we have some crises between.
So pick an early one, Mirco. Pick an early crisis, an early one to relate to, where our
an early one and a small one.
Who's the small one? Then we do a big one.
When we started the company, we were always short of money and we had no investors within the company because we wanted to be we want to become independent entrepreneurs and make independent soft drink cola. So always short of money, and you have to know, or your listeners have to know, that we sell most of our beverages in glass returnables. So we deliver them to bars, cafes, restaurants, supermarkets in plastic crates and with heavy glass bottles. So we get the glass bottles into crate bag and we wash them, rinse them, bottle them again and sell them again. So we produce almost zero waste. And this comes along that you need a lot of money or funds to buy the plastic crate. And for whatever reason, we once thought, okay, if we don't have enough money to buy some crate, what if we use cheap cartons instead of? So we bottles on our bottles and we pack them in cartons and we want to ship them to all the wholesalers. So we had a warehouse full of cartons with cola in it, but the wholesalers thought, "Hey guys, you're stupid. We love you, but we're not gonna buy anything from you in cartons. This is not gonna work." So we had.
So you made this decision. You made this decision without asking the wholesaler. You just thought it's a good idea. Okay. So maybe
it was a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe we can learn, if you want to disrupt the industry, you maybe should ask some expert. But I think on this early stage, Mirco, before Florian comes to the big crisis, I always had the feeling when I talk to employees of yours and when I read your book that the culture or the the beliefs, the mission, the culture, also like this, like we're not afraid to change the rules of the game, is probably similar important in the success of Fritz Cola than the beverage itself. So can we travel back to this early, because the culture is always created very close to the entrepreneurs, very close to you, and to this early tribe. Can you share a little bit how you built, or how this culture was built, and what is still there from this really early days culture? Can we do some culture dive?
Yeah, the culture changed a lot over the years, and it had to change, to be honest, because when we started Fritz Cola, we were two students, two very young professionals without much experience in the business or the professional world, and we had no experience about being a leader and how to lead and how to manage people. So we did a lot of mistakes in leading people and managing people, and we had no idea about culture. We did a lot of, we introduced some bad habits and stuff. It didn't work out because we were pretty unexperienced and not well prepared. But today we had a lot of coaching. I had some coaching, and we brought in some professional managers, and together we formed a culture what is different to the culture we used to have when we at the beginning, but necessary and important to work together in such a big team like this 320 people here.
So you think the culture now, Mirco, is a stronger one than the early beginning? Because we always hear that this culture, these values of the original tribe is the foundation of the future success. But when we listen now to you, it feels like more, and you were very honest and humble to share, to say we made a lot of mistakes and now we shape ourselves. You think you have a better value structure and beliefs than you had in the early beginnings?
Yeah, we are way better. And when in the beginnings, we had a lot of fun. I mean, two people, and for the first 2.5 years, we had no other Fritzis or employee working for us. So we were only two guys selling and producing soft drinks in Cola. And then we had the first Fritzis working with us. It was kind of friendship, and we had a lot of fun together, we had a lot of party together. We did a good job with a nice can-do spirit. But when we grew bigger and we had more, we started to have the first homegrown managers, we couldn't share our joint expectations of how to manage a company and which culture we want to achieve. This came only later, after 14 or 15 years, where we brought in the first external management, and then we developed our own strong culture that we have today.
But it's a nice.
Florian comes now with the bigger crisis.
Well,
I took care of the small ones.
It's a nice development that you see that a company actually grows, and being successful is also something that is supported by the culture and by the people who are in the company. But coming back to one of the crises, Mirco, that I would be interested in is that you mentioned COVID. Of course, that is a big crisis for everybody in our industry, no question about it. But you founded the company together with your friend Lorenz, and he left the company. That must also be a turning point, at least. Did you consider this as a crisis for yourself or for your company, to that one of the main founders actually exited?
Yeah, I think this was one of the main crises in our company, and was the impact was bigger than COVID-19 for us, because when you have two co-founders and you display their face on the bottle,
right,
and you see the founders every day in office or in the field selling soft drinks, working together with the people, And all of a sudden, even though we prepared this moment for more than a year, but for all our cities, all of a sudden, one of these two faces depart and leave the company. It's a big impact. And so our colleagues just doubted if there's a future for Fritz. What happened with my job? What happened with my future in this company? Are we losing our culture? Are we losing whatever? Yeah.
Did you ever had these doubts when your other half basically is gone, that the company still has a future? Did you had the same doubts personally?
I'm not sure if I had doubts, but I asked myself if I could succeed, and so I asked myself, what would happen if I would fail, if I can't make it? So, and the price in failure I would have paid might be losing the company to the banks or to someone else or whatever, or went bankrupt, whatever. So the biggest price I personally had to pay was to start again, founding a new company, starting my own new business. And I thought, okay, this is the price I'm willing to pay. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is I have to start all again. Okay, I'm willing to pay this price. So this is the worst case scenario. But what is the best case scenario? The best case scenario is I'm going to succeed. And what do I have to do to succeed? So to run the company, to give the company a future, and to give all the bright future within the company. And then it's just not so. Once I discussed this for myself and I found this for myself, then I had no more doubts.
Okay. So luckily you succeeded, obviously. The company is still there, bigger than ever, more successful than ever. You're launching more products. How did you regain your own drive after overcoming this drive? You stand in front of your staff saying, follow me, I know what I do. How did you get your motivation to overcome these doubts? Do you have a special recipe for that? Caffeine?
No caffeine, but a lot of sleep. And I did jogging or running maybe, but that is the best expression for it. So I started running not every day, but every second day. So I run a lot these days. And I asked myself, can I do it? Do I manage it? What are the next steps? And I painted a bright picture of the future of myself and the company. And this picture helped me to get through this very stressful year.
So a bigger vision in that way, no? A good positive vision.
Yeah, a big positive vision. And
I think
and at one point I was almost losing the belief I could do it. Because the process was very intense and stressful, and I had not enough sleep. But then I was running again, and I saw here in Hamburg at the Alter River, is a nice river downtown Hamburg, and I passed someone drinking a Fritz cola, and I got Fritz cola, and they had some fun. It was a group of people, right? So I thought, okay, there's still people loving my soft drink, loving my product. I can do it. There's still consumers out there, and no matter what I think in my little head, but the people still love my product. So I will do it. I can make it. So I regained faith and belief in myself and in my company.
That's really interesting, Mirco, because we had a we do every now and then a recap episode. So where we don't interview an entrepreneur, but we interview an expert, a scientist, a psychologist, somebody who helps us putting things into context. And we ask him, what should entrepreneurs have in that crisis? And this person told us, we need to have a story library of positive moments. And he gave a very, very similar example like you give, like this moment when you basically have given up, but suddenly you see a random person, in that case, a consumer, believing in your product and walking with the product. And then this moment, he called it a story library, this kind of picture, it becomes the mantra and says like, this is real. There's real believers out there. So it was really interesting for you to say. And the other thing is that we had also, I think almost all the entrepreneurs we're talking to talk about one of the themes which comes back is self-care. Self-care, and it seems like sleeping, running, to really make sure the entrepreneur, the main leading person, man or woman, is in physical good shape. Florian, sorry.
No, all good, all good. No, thank you for sharing. It was really honest answers from Mirco in that situation where a transition is actually taking place.
Yeah, and imagine that because I started a cola company selling soft drinks and like beverages for cafes, bars, restaurants. So we are more into joy, fun, nice moments. That's what we do, and what we try to create is support with our cola and other soft drinks. But in that year, I was only talking to bankers, advisors, lawyers, all these crazy people with kilos of paper with the contracts and other paper stuff, and it was stressful, horrible, because you're out of your comfort zone. It's not what you're doing in daily business. Everything is new. Yeah. And you have to get through it. So there's no way around but get through it. And I had to organize some money to pay the leaving co-founder. And it was a load of money. So I'm always way out of my comfort zone.
Right.
And it was super stressful.
Mirco, before we come to the second half of the call where we go to other spheres, I want to go back to this COVID thing, because it's really in obviously as we interview the restaurateurs and people in our industry, the COVID is massive, and there was really, there's different ways to look at that. If you now look back and look how you acted in that crisis, what retrospective was a key important strength or action you took as a leader to navigate through? So looking back, what was, you think, the 1-2 decisions which really made the difference on how you as a brand and you as a leader followed through that difficult moment?
And the key actions were, we were communicating digitally with our Fritzis, because we have people working in our office, but we have 200 or more people working in sales everywhere in Germany and in Poland, Austria, Netherlands, Belgium, wherever. So we had these town hall meetings online, and we didn't have them before that often. But then we had, on a frequent basis, we had this online town hall meetings with everyone. And so we had a lot of communications. We shared the news about the COVID-19 process, the measures, whatever. And we shared insights. So we kept on talking to our people. This was important. And another important thing was that as leadership team, when it was again possible, at least for part of our stuff, to work in retail, to support our retailers. The bars, cafes, and restaurants, they were still closed, but we still had customers in retail, supermarkets. And we were allowed again to stuff the shelves, to deliver to the supermarkets and to help the people working in retail, selling whatever soft drinks and all other food stuff. So as a leadership team, we went out with masks and with other protection measures, and we went out with our sales guys, because some of them were afraid of leaving their home and go back to work, because they were just unsure if they would get infected by COVID-19 or get other problems. So we went out with them, or we went out together with them, and placing our soft drinks in the shelves again, in the fridges, and talking to other people. We gave them the sign, okay, it's okay to go out there again, to work again out in the market. And we do the same. So, and we shot videos, how we do this, and we shared the video with our staff and colleagues everywhere. So we showed, we made it visible that we are regaining traction as a company. That's the future. And then the third thing was from my perspective, at least, was important, that we opened our office as early as possible. So we are, and now today we are back in office for 3 days a week. So 2 days it's possible to have remote work, but we're back in office. To give the experience of working together back to our people after a long time working remotely. And the fourth thing and last thing is that we made on the one hand use of this short work or short time working.
Furlough.
Yeah. So we got money if we leave our people at home and not ask them to go back to work. But instead of this, we use the early possible momentum to call the people back to work, even though they were not very productive, because a lot of our customers and clients, cafes, bars, and restaurants were still closed. But we called them back to work and we paid them. We collected enough money to pay them again. But we gave them sense. We got them out of their home and the little apartments, back on the streets, back on talking to our, get in touch with our clients and customers, cafes and bars, and help them with the programs and giving some free crates to our customers so that we are back on the street. So get a connection after this, losing the connection after this horrible time to stay at home. We brought people together, and this might be as a key part of our strategy to get along with COVID-19.
We're turning the page now, Mirco, and I would like to talk about this blue ocean, red ocean thing, and not in theory, but in reality. When I talk to founders, and I do a lot of that, they always say, I'm looking desperate for a product which isn't yet there, because if it's already there, I will never succeed. And I remember back then when I started this ketchup thing, where I always was obviously fighting against a big brand. We talked and you gave guidance, and I really would like to explore that because you had two big brands, Coke and Pepsi there, and you could always take the stand and say, like, does the world need another Coke? There's two huge companies, unlimited marketing money, unlimited people, unlimited whatever. And then there's like, okay, let's do that better. Yeah, let's just do that better. And we had Federico Krom here, who had a similar thing by setting up an ice cream brand. You could also say, like, there's thousands of ice creams out there. Why would you need another one? I would like to explore a little bit to give the confidence to these entrepreneurs out there. Just because there is somebody there doesn't mean you cannot succeed. But I would like to explore that a little bit as a tool set, like, if you go into a market which is saturated, sauces, ice cream, Coke, whatever, what do you think, looking back, is important to differentiate? Yeah, because obviously that's not so easy. You have done it over a long, long time. But looking back now, what would be your guidance if somebody goes into a very saturated market? with strong players, with a lot of money against them. What do you think is important when you're doing that?
Important might be to really explore the market and to get to know the market. Is the leading brand doing everything perfectly or good enough to satisfy customer and consumer needs? Because that was the case 20 years ago with our main competitor, that they were not satisfying the needs of cafes, bars, restaurants. They were the biggest player, but they did a poor job back then. So the only challenge we had to do it better. I'm not sure if we did it better, but it was the only other option to the big one. Explore the market, get to know the market, and find a small hole in the wall to get through. Because especially the big corporations, they can't be good in everything. It's impossible because they're big, they're huge, they have different issues. But as a small company, it's 100% sure that there's a loophole somewhere, a small hole in the wall to improve your own service or to offer something the big one can't offer.
But Mirco, now you're like so much more bigger than you have been. How do you watch out that there is not now a hole in your wall, that the next disruptor, the next Fritz Cola comes through that wall? Because you managed, and you're right, like the bigger the companies are, the more mistakes they make, the more distance they are from the actual thing, because there's 3 levels of management behind, and then you have a strong entrepreneur and who smells that. But now you also have 3 levels of management in between. So you probably cannot exclude that you leave a hole for the next one. What do you do to still stay relevant? Because your brand was so much built as a disruptor, and this David Goliath story, but especially in Hamburg in the north, you're definitely now already the big ones. How you do that to not be disrupted by yourself?
One thing is to focus. We're not doing everything because we have to focus and to be good in what we are good in, and other stuff we just don't do. And another thing, from time to time, I tell my people, if we are not good enough, and one day another cola brand will come, and then we are out of business. And this is fair. So if we don't do good service, good work, some other will do better work, and we will just have to leave the market. And this is a very fair game.
Right. Yeah. Is there? I can imagine, Mirco, when I just think about the situation, you have big players in the market who showed already how to sell soft drinks, and then you get in there. A lot of people around you see the same and come telling you, you should do this, you should do that. How do you manage to stay true to yourself? How can you do that? How do you just guard yourself from all the voices from outside that tell you, Mirco, do this, do that, look what the others are doing? How did you find your way?
This is a really big challenge, because I meet a lot of advisors, counselors, a whole bunch of people, and some tell me, okay, Mirco, go that way, or you can't grow if you don't do it this way, and you can't go to this country because it's a different market, and you can't reach your customers with your funny approach. And listen to everyone carefully and write my notes, and then I need some time, some days or weeks to think about it and to challenge what I just heard and challenge myself. And I'm on the right way with my company or not. And it's an ongoing process every day.
So who is your guiding sounding board then, how to make that decisions? Because you surround yourself, and you said that I had to grow, I had to learn. So you have a lot of advisors and you hire external management. But at the end of the day, you're the founder, you're the CEO. At the end of the day, how do you make difficult decisions? Because you said I isolate myself, run, but like, is that like in that with the distance to that problem or to that task that you make a decision, or you have a secret sounding board, or you meditate, or you roll the dice, or at the end of the day, when really it comes to make that decision after you heard everybody, how do you make it then? Because we hear so much here about gut versus data, and there's like strong entrepreneurs out there who says like the data needs to be right. The other says like, I don't even look at the data, I feel it. How is that at the end of the day? You listen to the facts, you listen to your team, you listen to the advisors, and then what?
In my industry, we say the truth is at the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we just, or in the shelf, we can say maybe.
Yeah.
So when you observe consumers or customers in their native base or native area, in their supermarkets, in their towns, in their cafes and bars, you can see what's going on there. So there's a full truth, a full picture if you see how people consume a soft drink or cola and how they buy them, what they do when they meet other people. So that's an easy to get picture. This is the full truth, and this is a guiding star. To myself.
Is the consumer. Before Florian comes to our signature question at the end, I want to understand a little bit how you think about the world, because we always had this. Obviously, we interview entrepreneurs who see a lot, who have a lot of insights. If you think about the current world or your current world, what is the things which really concern you? Like another way to think of it is like, what keeps you up at night in your microcosmos, which is your company or immediately family, but also in terms of the overall issues of that world. If we now see Mirco as a mensch and not just as an entrepreneur, what is the things which concern you, which keep you up at night?
The things concerning me right now is climate change, of course. I mean, for most people, climate change is the main issue. And another thing what keeps me up at night is the war in Ukraine, of course, because this is a big change in our daily life, because we talk about going back to draft young people, joining the army for a time. We buy a lot of tanks from Australia and import them, and we build new factories for weapons, and we build up back a big army in Central Europe and in other European states. And I talk to my distributors in Eastern Europe. They are not afraid, but the thing about this, what happened when the war spreads to their countries, this is really a big issue. How to run or to maintain a company in the next 10 or 15 years when we can't stop the current crisis with the war in Ukraine, but the crisis might become bigger. And as an entrepreneur, I see myself, or part of my job is I have to live in the future for a moment to make decisions supporting or protecting my company, my people, to get along with these problems. The last crisis, COVID-19, I hadn't seen coming, to be honest. It was black swan of the COVID. So it was like, what is this?
What is this? Yeah.
So, what is this? I don't believe in this flu from China, right? So it's not working with me. But yeah. But this crisis in the East, it's not a black swan, but it's a big elephant. So, and you can see the elephant coming. So this keeps me up. So I'm thinking about how to maintain business for the next 10, 15 years.
In the climate change one, we had Richard Bergforst, the leader of Max Berger there, and he said like in this climate change, you need to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Can you just share what are you as a leader and you as brand doing in terms of climate change to be part of the solution? What is your contribution towards that big problem of that world? What are you guys doing, or what can you do?
Yeah. I mean, what we do as Fritz Cola is we produce 95% of our products in glass returnables. So this means a local production. We ship the syrup to a bottling plant like a brewery or a spring bottle plant, and we bottle there, and we have a short distance to our customers and clients, and a short distance the way back with the empty bottles and crates to our bottling plant. This is the main part right now. And another part is that we work on the whole product back to the farmer's field. So ensure that we reduce our carbon footprint. But this is a long term. We're good, but it's still a long process.
Yeah. Mirco, thank you for sharing. We are almost at the end. Our last question always is advice for young entrepreneurs who are in doubt or in situations of struggle. You wrote a book. It's called Fritz gegen Goliath, Fritz versus Goliath. It is kind of the success story of Fritz Cola, but also a guideline for startups. So what are your main learnings and your let's say your top 3 advices you would give to entrepreneurs who reach out to you looking for help in times of struggle?
Yeah. The book is in German and in English, so even if you're not good in German, you can
there you go.
The English version. Perfect. The first important thing is get started, because most entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs fail because they don't start.
The Schwellenangst.
Schwellenangst. Back again. So, and the other thing is focus on sales. So where's the money coming from? And you can outsource everything, but not sales.
Yeah.
And the third thing is to build a company. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, but a marathon. From my perspective, from experience. So prepare yourself for a long run, and to care for your personal energy, for your company's energy, what needs money, energy, and people. And prepare your skills properly. Skills in the sense of how to lead people, how to manage them, how to engage them. Yeah, those are my recommendations.
Mirco, it was a pleasure having you on our little podcast. Thank you so much for sharing the story of yourself and Fritz Cola. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirco.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, Mario, what a nice interview with Mirco. That was so nice. And I still remember when I called him completely desperate with my ketchup bench and said, Mirco, you have done it. What I'm doing wrong? And he was really, really willing and helpful to share, and took like over an hour back then, because I also read his book. Because I think if you build a challenger brand or a disruptive brand, you have to read that book. And I think we also will put it in the show notes. Yeah. That's really a Bible of how to disrupt a blue ocean. Anyway,
absolutely.
Great interview, Lauren. And you got an invitation when we summarized. It's not on air, but Florian got an invitation with his son to taste the new mishmash. So yeah. Florian we will hero of his son.
We do the first mishmash tasting.
Okay, so Florian, what's the learning?
So let's start with his takes on Schwellenangst, because this is one of our main themes during the whole podcast. And here we got a new angle in Schwellenangst when I asked him this time what his thoughts about this is, and he said, we were not afraid when we started.
But we are now afraid. We're much more afraid now or later on. And I think more and more we see that that,
Right.
and they say like the younger you found the company, like also Mette said, like what can I lose? Worst case,
Yeah.
I go back to the same job, get the same business card, get the same money. But later on, you have much more
Risk.
Schwellenangst.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still remember
Responsibilities.
the first business I did. I didn't even think about
Right.
how to fail. But now
Yeah.
it's getting tricky. Yeah, that's definitely nuance. Also, when in the early beginnings, I think what he brought out, he said we were short of money, but we wanted to stay independent. So we needed to make compromises. We didn't take investors, we didn't take banks, and therefore we had to compromise much more because we had a strong need to be independent.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Let's take about his crisis when his partner left, because this is obviously, and he said it was a bigger crisis than COVID, because suddenly your company is on the edge. You have to convince people to follow you, and I can imagine that this is really a tough time for him. And he shared very honest what he felt back then, and what he had to do and what struggles he had. And you brought up the idea of the library, the picture library in that context, when he actually said, no matter what I think, but people believed obviously in the product, and that gave him a lot of support, external support.
But like he really, like for him, a couple of years later, he still probably sees this two people walking next to him when he was running, carrying a Fritz cola, and like this gave him a drive again. And I think what he really shared, like he said, first of all, I was out of the comfort zone, because instead of meeting restaurant people and hospitality people, I suddenly met bankers and advisors, etc., because I had to raise money to buy out my partner, and I had completely out of my comfort zone. He shared that. He also shared that that he took a lot of self-care, sleeping a lot, running, and this positive imagination, like projecting. He said, I had to picture how that's gonna look like, because at the end of the day, he had this crisis, and he said, like, I put the best case scenario versus the worst case scenario, like, because it felt like, and he said that I had to restart the company, because everything they built together, suddenly his partner was out, and then it was his, and then he had to rebuild that. So there was really, I think, for everybody who has that struggle on losing a partner, or buying out the partner, having to get rid of a partner, whatever it is, there were really strong learnings in there.
Yeah. Painting a bright picture of the company's future was important for him in that situation.
What I had before that, Florian, was this, how should I say? We always think that the culture is so strong at the beginning, and then it's diluted, and the bigger you are, etc. Let's say myth. Yeah. And he was completely honest. He said we made so many mistakes at the beginning in terms of culture. He didn't share exactly what it was, but he said, I had to rebuild the culture. And now it's much, much stronger than it was. And I think that's important to hear that. And it was very honest to share, because we always believe, and there's another great podcast of the Airbnb founder who also said, like, this culture which we had at the beginning was fun, but it was quite toxic. Right. And by scaling up the company, we had to completely revamp that to make it sustainable. And he shared that too. And I think that's also important to mention.
No, absolutely. And what he said, and I think that can also help others out there, especially when they're just starting, you do not have the leadership skills to actually make it from scratch. You start, and you gain experience, and you gain leadership skills, and you get coachings, and you get advice from the outside. But it's probably a myth that the team in the beginning, apart from the founders team, but employees and everything, they carry the startup phase. But at the same time, everybody is just a youngster in that business. And he actually pointed it out. When we come to the next topic, and that was basically about the blue ocean, where they actually conquered the bigger brands, he said the only challenge was to do it better. And I like that a lot, because it is self-confident to just go in there and say, our brand is fun and the others are boring and we can do it. And we as a small company, we will find and I like that quote, there is a small hole in the wall and we just have to find that small hole in the wall, because the big ones cannot see it.
And I think the closer you look to the wall being the big brand, you always find that hole. You just need to look close enough, and then you need to have this resilience and fight. And really, he said, you need to get into that hole. They said that. Yeah? Once you have it, it's not enough to find it. Yeah. You really need to tackle that. And then when we turned around and said, yeah, but you're not this young startup anymore. You're quite a sizable company. How do you avoid that your wall doesn't get the hole where the next disruptor goes through? And he said, we are not doing everything, and if we're not good enough, we focus on the things we can do good. So he's aware that if he doesn't watch out, and we see that a lot of time when the first challenger brand gets disrupted and then the second one actually succeeds. So he's aware of that. And that was a good nuance. And
then he said, the truth is in the fridge.
The truth is in the fridge. I like that quote. How do you make decision, cut or date? And he said, at the end of the day, it's about probably like a boring quote would be the truth is in the sellout rate, but like the truth is in the fridge is a more funny quote. But it is true, and I think as I haven't been really aware of that. When you're in retail, the one thing is the sellout. Is like selling, getting the listing in the Reves and Albert Heijn and Tesco's of that world. That's difficult, but it's still easier. And then it's in the fridge.
Right.
But then nothing happens yet. Yeah. There needs to be a customer who opens that fridge and takes one bottle out. And this rate of sales or sellout, that's the KPI you need to look at. So I like that. The truth is in the fridge.
Let's sum it up with his advices for our entrepreneurs.
Very strong.
So, my first one, and that's the first one he actually said, so my first take, get started. You just have to do it. And this is also what we actually found out in the other conversations we had. You have to take action. You have to act.
Just overcome your Schwellenangst, get started. Focus on sales, and you cannot outsource sales. I think that's a very, very strong learning, and I want to really emphasize on that. When you have a startup in retail or any kind of distribution, you don't have the money. You can outsource everything, but don't outsource sales. Nobody can sell your product better than yourself and then your team with your values. I can focus on sales. You cannot outsource sales.
And you have, and at the end, and many maybe are a little bit blindfolded when it comes to that. If you are losing your sales, your company is actually in trouble. And sometimes we just avoid these discussions, and having that as an advice, where is the money coming from? And is it still coming? Is basically key. It's a marathon and not a sprint, he said.
And you can see that, like, he's 20 years around and he's still like climbing up that thing. And 20 years is a long time, considering in this short momentum life we live. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. That's actually the best quote to end, but he had another one, so I have to use that. But then the marathon is the better one. Get prepared. Prepare yourself. And I think that was also clear, especially at the beginning, when he said, like, we started that as a student. We had no idea. And you really see that he probably invest in himself. He got the right advisors. He got educated himself, etc. In the end, he makes the decision obviously by himself, but get prepared. Prepare yourself for the marathon, because it is not a sprint.
Absolutely.
So Florian, you need to send some pictures when you do the tasting with the sun. have fun with that. And
the truth is in the fridge.
The truth is in the fridge. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Wow. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we did. But sharing is not just caring, it is also empowering. So, recommend this podcast to fellow entrepreneurs who might need a dose of inspiration. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss out on future episodes. Thank you for being part of the community from Doubt to Drive Entrepreneurs Only. Mario and Florian are already gearing up for the next episode. Until then, stay tuned, stay driven, and we'll be back next week.